In that we have also seen that what is the importance of anatomy, what is the importance of physiology. We have tried to make it in simpler way. So we have seen various levels of organization in earlier class, and this all how it helps to understand better way pathophysiology, how it understand to make use of this anatomy, physiology and pathophysiology for topic that is called as a pharmacology, and thereafter pharmacology, after that is pharmacology is a branch of science which deals with the study of drugs, particularly how the drugs act on the body, or what sort of effect drug will be showing, in what way it will be showing. So when you know physiology, then you know that how the drugs are changing that, or how the drugs are correcting the physiology. So these all things we learn, we understand from that particular aspect. Then next is in that whenever the anatomy is described, it uses certain specific terms for that. Okay. We have seen this earlier, that is what is level of organizations and how there are various systems are there, how these systems are working. So we have studied it in earlier class. So we have seen these levels. We have now next is we are using certain places or certain terms which are there. Okay. Now what happens is whenever you might have observed this, whenever somebody goes to doctor, then I think it should be clear from my side, but most probably one or two people may be having a problem there. Sound. Everybody is getting that. Hello. It should not. Okay. Now here what happens is there is a, it is clear no now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you might have experience when you go to the doctor, then what happens to that is doctor examines and he do something, what we call it, let us know about it. One is, first is known as a palpitation. The examiner feels body surfaces with the hands, he will touch it. Okay. It will be pulse and heart rate, etc. So that is called as a palpitation. We touch, he tries to sense whatsoever kind of experience the person is giving. Okay. That is called as a, when touch is applied, example the pulse somebody is taking, at that time it is there. Okay. Now these all things are there, that is the examiner touch the body and then try to judge it. This is there maybe what the touch experience is there, looking hard, looking soft, softer than normal, etc. So whatsoever things are there, they are recorded, that is called as a palpitation. Just maybe gentle pressing they are doing with that, that is called as a palpitation. They may feel that some tumor is there, कोई गांठ है वहाँ पे ऐसा. So whatsoever they will feel with that, that is with the touch, that is called as palpation. Then another is palpation. Then another is known as auscultation, that is example is stethoscope, you might have seen with doctors. So doctor will listen to the body sounds, particularly heart sound or lungs or etc., how that organs are functioning. Then percussion is there, it will tap on the body surface with the fingertip and listen the resulting echo. Okay, how the echo is. So that is called as a percussion. So these three important clinical applications they are using for the idea about the problems. Okay. Now there are typical characteristics all the living things are having. One is, that is metabolism, that is there is either metabolism, everybody is not able to see the screen, or you can.
It is visible, sir.
Swapnil, you might have joined late or something like that, and you try to touch on the place where you say that I am sharing screen, no? Tap the pin on the screen. Very good. So there are various.
Now screen is visible, sir.
Screen is visible. I think from the beginning only it is visible. Okay. Now the thing is, what are characteristics of the human organism? That is, the metabolism is going on. You know about metabolism. Again, in biochemistry, you are going to study it in detail. I should not define it because you know you have studied it since so many things. Then it is a responsiveness, isn't it? That is, it responds to various stimuli. When I ask some question, that is stimuli. When you respond to it, that means you have got responsiveness. That is a characteristic of life. It doesn't mean that those who are not responding, they are not having life, but responsiveness is a characteristics of a human life. Okay, so we respond to various things. We respond to stimuli. We respond to question. As I told you, my question is a stimuli, or what I am teaching. If you do not understand, that is also a responsiveness. That, sir, I am not understanding. So that is also a responsiveness. So there are variety of responsiveness are there. So that kind of responsiveness again is the feature of human life. Movement, definitely we all can move, and therefore we are different than trees and other non-moving living organism, the organism which are living but they cannot move. We have another characteristics is a growth. That is, from childhood to adulthood, there is a growth. So, and that growth is again at various level. Growth is at the level of cellular level, okay, and organ level, organism level. So from either cells will increase, number of cells will increase, or the organ size will change, or the whole body height will change. So these are various type of growths are there. Differentiation, anybody knows differentiation? Whether anybody has heard it somewhere?
यस सर,
Okay.
गैमेटोजेनेसिस में डिफरेंशिएशन आता है.
Acha, very good. What is exact meaning of it?
Specialization of cells.
Very good, very good. Acquiring a spatial function or anatomical status is a differentiation. Earlier answer was also correct. Basically, human life starts with two types of cells. When two cells come together, that is one from mother, one from father, sperms or spermatocytes from father and oocytes from mother, both are, we call them as haploid, that they are having single set of chromosomes. When both come together, then it becomes a diploid cell. The first diploid cell, that is we called as a zygote. Okay, and that zygote, that is a single cell. Now those who see the person who might have seen it, that zygote is having only single cell, no specific activity. Okay, it is just single cell. From that single cell we grow into body which is having trillion, not billion, more than billion is a trillion, trillions of cell which are acquiring different function. Some are RBCs, some are WBCs, some are epithelial cells, some are connective tissues. So variety of tissues are formed, and these changes which are taking place every time with every what we can say cell division, that we call it as a differentiation. Lastly, reproduction. Again, reproduction means there is ability to give birth to new life is one thing, and reproduction also means that the cells are reproducing themselves. So cells are reproducing, tissues are reproducing. Okay, there are certain part which are reproduced once they are damaged, whenever there is injury is there. Some cannot be produced, but yes, some can be produced. And overall, reproduction also means that whole new body can be formed from this, or they have they can have generations over there. So these generations can be there because of that. These are very typical criterias. These six are we can have prominent criterias apart from many others. So these are very typical criteria that gives human organism a distinct feature. Okay. Now these are again important, because if anything goes wrong in this, wherever it goes wrong in this, then again we need to assess it, and then we need to go for identification of the pathophysiology of it, and then go for the treatment of that. So we know that what are these basic life. I will not tell you about it. Metabolism, responsiveness, movement, we have seen it. Growth I just now told, differentiation I told, reproduction I told. There is one term which is used as autopsy, that is basically called for post-mortem. Post means after, mortem means somebody dies. So if when somebody dies, after that the body is opened up and it is tested, it is checked, it is tested means it is examined, rather the more appropriate word is examined. It is examined, the dissection of internal organs to confirm the determined cause of death, or the changes which are occurring because of certain diseases. When the person is diagnosed with some severe disease, and just like people call nowadays, COVID was there, and after COVID the post-mortem were conducted. So it is checked, so what were the changes which occurred to the human body, and that helps into the science. After that somebody can understand that this was the reason, that this organ has got problem, this organ got failed, and because of that the person got died. So in future that information can be used for further knowledge. This we shall start some other time, or we'll check who will teach it, because we two people name is given. We call it as homeostasis. Or rather I'll continue because this is again very, very important term. Homeostasis. Homeo is a condition of equilibrium in the body's internal environment. Now what is the body's internal environment? Which is the functional unit of the body? What is the functional unit of the body?
Cell.
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 Isn't it?
Cell.
Cell is the functional unit of the body, and for that cell, what will be the internal environment? Just like what is your environment now, wherever you are sitting, surrounding that. Cytoplasm is there. Okay. Cytoplasm is inside the cell or outside the cell?
Inside
Inside the cell.
Cytoplasm is inside the cell or outside the cell?
Inside the cell.
Inside the cell.
Inside the cell.
So if the cytoplasm is inside the cell, what will be the environment? Environment is now whatsoever I am telling you, what is environment surrounding you? You are telling something inside you or outside you?
Outside.
What's outside?
So what is the internal environment for cell?
Cytoplasm.
Extracellular fluid.
Yes, it is a extracellular fluid. Okay. What is the importance of extracellular fluid?
To exchange the material or nutrition, etc.
It is constant in touch with the cells, and it can provide nutrition. It can exchange, we can say, it can exchange so that it provides whatsoever required for the cell, whether nutrient or whatsoever it may be, or raw material. Example, if some cells are synthesizing some proteins, then that amino acids will be supplied through what? Extracellular fluid. Everything that happens, because all cells are in that constant surrounding. So if surrounding changes, what will happen to these cells? If this
They will not work properly.
they will
Function
not
नहीं
able,
होगा.
they will not able to work properly. Okay. So that environment, the environment around this cell is very clear, very common, and therefore this criteria is very clear. If anything goes wrong with that, that will affect the functionality of the cell. Okay. because example, they are responsible for maintaining temperature, maintaining the fluid level, maintaining the electrolyte level, maintenance of, as I told you, nutrients, removal of waste, so that you know, you might have studied all this, how the waste is removed. Cell gives to extracellular, from extracellular it passes to blood, okay, and then this goes out. So everywhere, every time, this is very, very important medium for any kind of activity over there. Now when this activity is there, this maintenance of it is very important. Very simple. If it is not maintained, we have seen what will happen. If it is not maintained, it will result into diseases, or to what we call it as a pathology. So homeostasis is a condition of equilibrium in the body's internal environment, and it is produced by ceaseless interplay of the body's regulatory processes. Very important thing is that ceaseless, without interruption, continuously, whether you are sleeping, whether you are working, whether you are not working, whether you are studying, not studying, the homeostatic mechanisms are working. So it is ceaseless, not at all stopping, not at all breaking it. And these regulatory processes are there, they are maintaining it. Now, what all these various systems are basically meant for maintenance of internal environment, isn't it? You name any,
Yes, sir.
you name any system and you relate it with the homeostasis now. Okay, you try with this.
Okay, sir.
Any system. Somebody will.
Respiratory system.
Respiratory system. How it is maintaining?
The waste of the goes to the extracellular fluid and then blood gives the carbon dioxide to the lungs and it is
Okay.
attached to the
So,
extracellular system.
Exchange of gases is taking place, sir.
exchange of gases is taking place. Very good. So, then any other exchange of gases means what? Because cells require oxygen for their energy production. So, oxygen to be supplied and carbon dioxide, which is the byproduct, it has to be removed. Okay, if it
Should
is
be eliminated.
Okay, sir.
if it is not removed, what is problem?
Accumulation of poisonous substances in the body, which will create inflammation or any other thing.
Okay. So again, inflammation is what?
This is
Disturbances in
Yes, sir.
homeostasis. Homeostasis you understood?
Yes,
yes,
sir.
sir.
First class. So homeostasis is continuously maintained, and if anything goes wrong with the homeostasis, that will affect. Okay. So this was first coined by one French physiologist in almost 2 centuries back, and example is there, that is blood glucose level is kept within narrow range of 70 to 100 or ml of blood, 70 mg, like that. So like that, all these values are there, we call them as the normal values, and these normal values are there which expresses or which gives us the style. Now there are various body fluids, we have seen intracellular, extracellular. Extracellular is filling the narrow spaces, you know about it, and since extracellular fluid is in constant motion throughout the body and also surrounded, it is called as a body's environment, internal environment. This you understood now?
Yes, sir.
What is internal environment? I told just now, when we have discussed it. Okay, so this extracellular fluid is, which is always surrounding the cells, so we'll call it as a internal environment. Now how it is controlled and why it is disrupted? It is continuously disrupted by various things. Example, we know summer days are there. What is your body temperature, by the way?
36,
37 degrees Celsius.
37 degrees Celsius.
37.5 degrees Celsius, sir, accurately.
Okay, let it be. Okay, and what is temperature presently in winters over here?
17 degrees Celsius, sir.
And what temperature at various places in Maharashtra normally go during summer?
Sir, 17 to 5 degrees Celsius almost.
During summers, how much temperature?
40 degrees
40
Celsius
40
above
to 50 degrees
35.
Celsius.
40 to 48 degrees Celsius.
Above 35.
45.
Okay.
Above 35.
Who is from 35? The person is staying at very good place otherwise, because usually in Maharashtra most of the cities goes beyond 42 degrees. Okay, even it reaches up to 48. How do you experience at that time? You become happy?
No, sir. No, sir.
No, sir.
No,
And
sir.
No, sir.
when there is extreme cool
No, sir.
environment?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir.
So you do not like. So these are stressful. We call it them as a stress. These are the external stresses. But what happens to body? How much temperature body needs? You know, 37
37.
or
37
7 degrees
37.
Celsius.
degrees Celsius.
Now, then that body has to do something so that that temperature is maintained during that period, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
body, even if the external temperature is around 48, body tries to maintain it. Even if the temperature has went down to 5 degrees Celsius, there is a extreme chilling winter, still it causes same. So that is what the maintenance. This is how body
And
is doing.
sweating also.
Sweating actually homeostatic control mechanism is okay. What happens during
Okay.
sweating is actually your protection from that what we can scorching heat. So when that heat is
Purification of cell.
yes, it is not purification of cell that time. We'll discuss it what it is. Okay. So intense heat, cold there at the people. Some people go at high altitude. There is a lack of oxygen. There can be some internal stimuli, that psychological stress people have, isn't it? I don't know how many of you might have experienced examination आती है, फिर सब भगवान याद आ जाते हैं, isn't it? So this is what psychological stress. Then exercises is again a physiological stress, but it is stress because muscles were not actually required to do that, but muscle has to do some extra activity. So there are many things like that they goes on, and because of that, these are mild, these are temporary. Then the body has got its own mechanism to control that, so that there is no change is occurring, or whatsoever change is there, the minimal change is occurring in the internal environment. What is internal environment? What is internal?
Extracellular fluid.
Yes, extracellular fluid. So you should be remembering by now, you should have, the big pause was there. That means many just forgot it. Yes, internal environment means
Cytoplasm.
Extracellular fluid.
extra, extracellular fluid here, all the things related to extracellular fluid, that is composition of extracellular fluid, temperature of it, pH of it, everything, the typical characteristics of extracellular fluid, that makes it as an internal environment. Okay, so these are the conditions which may lead for change in this environment, but this disruption, as I told you, extreme heat is there, extreme cool is there, other changes are there. These are, or it should be mild and temporary. But if it is not mild, if it is severe, if it is not temporary, it is occurring again and again, or it continues occurring and it cannot be corrected, then the death may be resulting, because basically it is the main important feature that is responsible for the normal functioning of cell, because that is the basic what we can say interference, where the cell will have the things from the various parts of the body. So how the homeostasis is controlled? Okay, it needs to be changed whenever it is there. So we have seen that there are disruptions are there. So it is regulated by two important systems. We call it as a neurons, and another is endocrine system, that is hormones. Okay, so nervous system and second is endocrine system. These are two important systems which are maintaining the homeostasis. When nervous system is regulating, we call it as a neural regulation. When endocrine systems or biochemicals are maintaining, because endocrine system is releasing some hormones or chemicals, okay, this is known as a humoral type of that. So neuronal and humoral, these are two major controls which are causing the control of the composition of the internal environment. Okay, clear this? This is okay.
Yes,
Now
sir.
this neural mechanism or endocrine mechanism, they can act independently, means only neurons are working or only hormones are working.
No, sir. These two systems are simultaneously acting on the body.
Yes, they are simultaneously acting, but at certain places only neurons are acting. Example, if you have to run, then okay, then your body needs only
Yes, sir.
only neuronal impulses. Okay, at certain places only hormones are acting. Okay, so they can
Okay, sir.
they can act individually at certain places, or they can act in combination. When they act in combination, we call it as a neurohumoral, that is neurons and endocrine or neurons and hormones simultaneously. This term is clear, what is neurohumoral?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and now at many places what happens is the nervous system will detect the changes, because we have got sensory input, we have got association inputs, means sensory will give some changes, association will try to understand that what has happened to that, to it will judge the, just like suppose I am speaking something, then you have got association neuron, they will understand that what my words are, they will put all these words together, they will try to make some meaning, and that will be again, checked with your memories, whether you can comprehend it or not, whether you can understand it or not. If you can understand and if your attention is good, then you may remember it, it may go in your memory. So this is how the nervous system is working. So it will detect the changes and it will send nerve impulses to counteract these disruptions. Okay,
Okay, sir.
while the endocrine system will also get the signs, and it will regulate by either increase or decrease in the hormonal secretions. Okay, when the hormonal level, or what we can say, the input is there, that input decreases, then in that conditions what happens is there are two typical system, we call it as a negative feedback and positive feedback. Okay, so this negative means what happens, that there was a certain condition, because of decrease in the activity, or where the activity of the hormone was required more, or neurons it was required more, but it is not there. Suppose example is heartbeat we consider. So heartbeat is required more because somebody wants to run, or somebody is running, so it needs to have higher blood supply. Now when higher blood supply is needed to the muscles, therefore heartbeat should increase. For that what will happen, it will continuously sense. So initially heartbeat was normal, suppose 72. When body will feel that sufficient blood is not provided, so blood is less now, or that nutrient which are required, they are less because blood flow is less. So blood flow is less. To increase blood flow, to increase the blood flow, when heart rate is increased, so earlier it was less. Less means it is not less than normal, but the body needed it more. Okay, so body needed it more, to supply it more, from earlier lesser to now more. So this is called as a negative feedback. Negative feedback means what will happen, Earlier, whatsoever thing was there, when it is changed, when it is increase or decrease, that is called as, or when heartbeat is too much and the neurons will cause decrease in the heartbeat, when it is not required, then we will call it as again negative feedback. There is normally our body works with the negative feedback, both whether it is neurons or whether it is hormones. In both cases, it is working on the negative feedback in most of the cases. There are few examples of positive feedback. Example is one very popular example is there, that is whenever there is a childbirth take place, at that time oxytocin hormone is released, and as the oxytocin cause contraction of uterus, that will, the fetus will move towards the mouth of uterus, and from that again it will cause more oxytocin. Earlier we have seen it, that when it was less, suppose there was less contraction, then oxytocin is released. Here oxytocin causes contraction, there are more contraction, more oxytocin is released. More oxytocin causes more contraction, that causes more oxytocin release. So gradually it goes on increasing. This type of thing is called as a positive feedback. Earlier we have seen negative means when blood pressure was low, it is increased. So less blood pressure is managed by increasing the heartbeat, then we call it as an increase in the blood pressure, that is a negative feedback, because blood pressure was low, now it is increased, or vice versa. So these are very important terms, that is called as a negative feedback and positive feedback. There is one very important change also. Whenever the nerve impulses are there, they are doing immediate one. They cause the action immediately. Suppose you have to run, it will not take time. But the hormones takes time. The hormone will cause changes in the cells, then it will bring changes in the metabolic patterns of the cell, and it may take some time. So these are various examples, that is if suppose somebody is cannot have sufficient oxygen, suppose as I told you somebody is went to higher altitude, that will cause decrease in the oxygen level, we call it as hypoxia. Because of hypoxia, body will feel the shortage of oxygen. Now what is that is oxygen level has reduced. Okay, now what body will do is, body will increase the rate of respiration, so that more breathing will be taking place. Because of more breathing, more oxygen will be there. So earlier there was a hypoxia, now it will bring it towards normal. So this is called as a what? Negative feedback. So it is applicable for all the things of the internal environment. So may it be carbon dioxide level, may it be oxygen level, may it be temperature, may it be pH, may it be blood pressure, may it be various ions, may it be glucose, whatsoever things which are there, for that all homeostasis is important, and that is required. So this is the feedback loop. I told you about feedback. So what is feedback? There is some sensor is there. It receives the information. As I told you, blood pressure. Then if it is carbon dioxide or oxygen level, then we call it as a chemoreceptors. They will sense the chemistry, and if the carbon dioxide is more, oxygen is less, they will sense it. Okay. Then there is a control center. In brain we have got several control center, and these control centers
Medulla oblongata.
had many places actually. Okay. Thank you. This will cause, there are many control centers, depend on place where it can be. It can be medulla oblongata, it can be in midbrain, it can be in thalamus, it can be in hypothalamus. Okay. At any places it can be there. It will change system to system. Now these feedbacks are there. These feedbacks will be given and accordingly there will be effector. Example, you might have studied about pituitary gland. Studied?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
how
sir.
it is controlled?
By hypothalamus.
Very good. So hypothalamus is not in medulla oblongata, isn't it? Now
Yes.
the hypothalamus will get inputs. That example, body metabolism is reduced. Okay, BMR is reduced, body temperature is reduced, or any other things. Then it will go to hypothalamus. Hypothalamus will sense it. Hypothalamus will ask pituitary gland to secrete more thyroid hormone secreting hormone, TSH we call. So this TSH will be there. This TSH will act on thyroid gland will secrete it. So this is all we call it as a negative one. So basically three important things are there. So here receptor was that what? These are various chemoreceptor. What is the control center? Just now example I have given, it was hypothalamus. Okay. What is effector? Hypothalamus, then pituitary gland, then thyroid gland, and then cell. Everything is there because they receive direction from the control center and they will cause it responses. So this is applicable for all activities of the body. These are the feedbacks. Feedback you understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So negative feedback you understood, positive you understood. Okay. So what it is feedback? It is a cycle of event in which information about the status of condition is continuously monitored. Okay. That is continuously monitored because brain is continuously receiving the inputs, and whenever any message goes that something is not correct, immediately the action is there. So any disruption in that is called as a stimulus, and when stimulus is received, that will act. So we have seen that it has got a receptor, that it receives the information, that is whether the thing is normal, less than normal, or higher than normal. Then if whatsoever it may be, then corrective input is given to the control center. This control center, example again about this blood pressure, or about blood pressure again, we have got receptors, baroreceptors somewhere else. They are not in brain, but baroreceptor input goes to brain, and then accordingly heart rate can increase or decrease. Force of contraction can increase or decrease because blood pressure will be, baroreceptor means they sense the blood pressure. Similarly, we have got chemoreceptors. They will sense the chemical structure. So there are variety of such receptors are there. They will give that information to control center. Example, if it is baroreceptor, it will give it to cardiovascular center. It is in medulla oblongata. So cardiovascular center will get it, and from cardiovascular center, that information will be taken action as if heart rate is required to increase, then it will send order to heart. Okay, and then heart rate will increase. So you got this concept of what is feedback and how it is acting?
Yes, sir.
Very good. So there are variety of components. We have seen that there are there. Stimulus is there. We have seen what is negative, what is positive feedback system. If the response reverses the original stimulus, okay, then it is called as a negative feedback. If the response enhances the original stimulus, the system is called as a positive feedback mechanism. So I explained you negative feedback, positive feedback. Example of this is a blood pressure, negative. If blood pressure was decreased, then the opposes the stimulus and there will be increase in the blood pressure. That means it tries to correct it. That is what the negative feedback. Okay, this is the example given over here about blood pressure. Positive, I told you about oxytocin during childbirth. That is, oxytocin is there, and every time the oxytocin is increased during that. Okay. Now, what are the problem with that? Whenever the homeostasis is not properly done, we call it as a homeostatic imbalances. And we have just now seen that if the homeostasis is not maintained, it can lead to disease or death. And there are two important terms which are used. Disorder is a general term for only simple derangement of the abnormality of the function. That is, the function is slightly changed, modified. And disease is a more specific term for illness that is characterized by recognized signs and symptoms. That means the local disease is one of that affect the part of limited region of the body is the disease, is called as a local disease. Suppose somebody gets inflammation because of one or other reason at only one leg, then it is a local disease. Or if only GIT is involved, then it is that. But if it is their entire body or several parts, then we call it as a systemic disease. Okay, so disorder is just example, electrolyte levels changing. Okay, then we'll call it as a disorder because the electrolyte level it can be fetal. Disorder doesn't mean that it is very small and disease is big. Disorder can also be big, disease can also be big. Okay, because it's big or small will depend whether it is big or small, it will depend on what impact it is causing on the body. So there are disorders, there can be diseases. Whenever homeostasis is not maintained, it can cause it. So disease is more specific term for illness which is characterized by a recognizable set of signs and symptoms. Example, fever, rash, these are the symptoms which are clearly observed. In disorder, many times we cannot observe these symptoms, but then we can recognize it. Okay. And one more thing is diagnosis. It is art of distinguishing one disease from other disease, because headache may be because of so many reasons, fever can be because of so many reasons, COVID may be causing fever, malaria may be causing fever, typhoid may be causing fever, tuberculosis may also be causing fever, some other infections may also be causing fever. Okay, simple stress may be causing fever. So this distinguishing from this one fever from other fever or some one headache from other headache, this is what we call as a diagnosis. If required, these clinicians, they can take help of certain tools. Example, if it is they feel that COVID, then they can go for COVID test, they can go for malaria test, they can go for tuberculosis test. If required, then they can go for that, and accordingly they can diagnose. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So these are various things. With aging, there are changes in the homeostasis. It is progressive decline in the body's response to the restore homeostasis. Body cannot do it as it was doing earlier, and these are appearing in various body systems. Therefore, we can see the changes in the skin, gray hair, loss of bone mass. These are all features we can see with the age. So that affects the homeostasis, that affects the normal functioning, and therefore the older are more prone to have various diseases. Okay, so this much is clear from my side, that is what is homeostasis. One more we'll have, that is what we call about that they are called as various anatomical terminology. Now this will shall whenever we get time we'll go for that. Okay. Now next thing is about book. Students were asking, basically use good books because as I told you, you have much information about many things, and don't go for smaller books. Now I'll show you one book which is very common. Usually most of your seniors, they are having that book. That is very popular book. And it is rather very balanced book. That is, balance means it has got very nice figures about anatomy, very nice things about physiology, and in very simple way. It is comparatively, you will find bigger one than these Indian books, but the quality wise and for the understanding, comparatively this is what usually in pharmacy we call it as a minimum book. One should have or one should read it. As I told you, most of your seniors must be having its soft copy, so you can just see it what the book is. So that book is can you see the book?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
What is the name of book?
Principle of Anatomy and Physiology.
Who are the authors?
Tortora.
Yes. So this is most common book. Okay. Most of such good books are available PDF format. Only thing is you need to search them, and once you search them you can get it. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Try to refer good books. There is one more very good book that is again I'll try to show it, but that is not for anatomy. That is for physiology. It is one of the best physiology book uh, we have, or the people use it. That is called as a Guyton. Just a minute. Both these books are having around more than 1200 pages. They are having more details. This is only physiology, very brief anatomy this book will have. This is medical physiology, and these books are the best books, so that you should get the details. As I told you earlier, if you know physiology well, if you know physiology well, then you understand the working of body. If you understand working of the body, if you remember I gave you the example of a fan. So if you know that what is there in fan, you can understand, then you can repair it. If there is a sound, then if that electrician comes and he said that, sir, there is some bearing problem, when it is having some problem, he can say motor is not working or condenser is not working. Now he can tell you why, because he knows that if what part goes wrong, what will happen, because he knows basic functioning of that every part. So when you know how the part is working, then he will able to tell you, he will I understand that if this part goes wrong, then this is the problem, or if this is the problem, then this is the chance that this part has got wrong. You understood this? So this is what we call as a pathology. As an expert, what expert do is, if the person is showing this kind of signs or symptoms, or this type of things are being observed, that means here the problem is, that can be the problem. So that problem identification, there is various diagnosis. It is a pathology or pathophysiology, so that we can understand where the physiology is not normal, where the physiology has become abnormal. Once we understand, then the next thing is how it can be corrected. That is, what thing can be applied to that. Okay, so that you can, example again, fan, we told you, if it is simple that it is making noise, okay, the person is knowing physiology, so he understand that there is thing which is known as some ball bearing, which is responsible for smooth or noiseless functioning. But if there is a noise, that means the ball bearing has got some problem, friction is there. So that identification is a diagnosis in pathophysiology, and we know the problem is ball bearing. Then the person will suggest that put some grease or put some oil, and if it is not working, then change the ball bearing. So this is how the next thing is there, that is called as a pharmacology, that what we should do. Example, we are adding oil or grease like that. So this is what we call as a pharmacology. Now next to that is known as a pharmacotherapeutics. Particularly for the PharmD students, it has got more importance. The if you know that what is the problem, what is the normal physiology, what is the problem, and when you know that what are various options available for that. Example, again fan has got a problem, there is a noise, you have identified that ball bearing as a problem. Now whether to use grease, whether to use oil, whether to just clean it and remove the dust, there are variety of options are there. In pharmacology, you understand about all options. In pharmacotherapeutics, you apply all these options for the best option. for that given condition what is the best option. That is what known as a pharmacotherapeutics. This is clear about this is clear to everyone, or this is known as a clinical pharmacy. This is clear?
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir.
is it clear that why you need to have very good knowledge of physiology? Because in many times when some drugs are acting, example let me tell you, although you don't have pharmacology now, but when you see that there are certain drugs which causes increase in the which causes relaxation of blood vessels. So because of the relaxation of blood vessels, they causes vasodilation. Because of that, it causes decrease in the blood pressure. Now this decrease in the blood pressure is there, that is sensed by we have seen homeostatic mechanism. It is sensed by cardiovascular center, and it causes increase in heart rate because there was a decrease in the blood pressure. To increase it, it causes increase in the heart rate, it causes increase in the force of contraction. The drug is not acting in that. So in pharmacology, the word comes as the drug is reflexly increasing. Reflexly means it is not acting on heart. It has no action on heart, but it is doing it. Why it is doing? Because it is making this impact, and because of that centrally there is a change. Okay. So this thing you will understand when you are good in physiology. So always you need to be good in physiology so that you can understand the things which are there. The basic anatomy will help you to understand. So Totora, as I told you, Totora is the first book you can start with. One more very important thing I would like to put in front of you is, first thing is you study all the things which you have previously done. Okay. Here what you need is that whatsoever syllabus you have got, okay, you go through this. I have already told you that you refer all the previous books, you try to have the basic information, whatsoever you have studied at your pre-12 level, you try to relate with these books. You have studied, it was small one, I told you, that is swimming in water. It can be small tank or it can be big, anything. You gradually try to understand what you have learned and what is given in the books. Okay. Now being a professional college, you need to read more and more, and everything cannot be taught. Okay. So if everything cannot be taught, that means that you need to read it, you need to go through it, and when you read it, when you refer it, when you use it, then you will get some difficulties. That difficulties can be discussed, because if somebody wants to teach each and every line or each and every paragraph of these books, it won't be possible to complete, or rather it will be boring also. So go for that. Usually teachers will teach you the basic concepts in almost all subjects, because whenever it is a professional course like pharmacy, engineering, medical, etc., then nobody can teach you line to line or paragraph to paragraph. You need to understand the basic concept, read the books, apply the previous knowledge, whatsoever previous knowledge you people have got. Now very important thing I wanted to tell you is, even if you complete the first year, whenever you complete the first year, I used to recommend students that they should revise whole anatomy physiology again, and all the such subject, because it doesn't mean that examination is over. Most of the first year subjects are the basics for the future knowledge. So even if whatsoever your examination result may be, even if you get 80%, 90% or 70%, 60%, be very sure about it. I don't know whether I'll able to tell you again it or not, but be very sure about it is, when you get when you pass the subject, or when you get 60%, 70%, it doesn't mean that you have knowledge of that subject and until and unless your knowledge increases in that particular subject, uh, you will have the difficulties in understanding the future subjects, because many times students feel that they have got very good mark, they have got maybe 60% mark, 70% mark, first class, but they do not understand that out of syllabus the question is asked on very few things, and in that questions again many times the examiner is liberal enough that yes, the person has written good thing. So many times there are many students that whatsoever they study, this type of questions are there, they can appear it nicely. So marks is always, I used to tell is marks is byproduct of your knowledge, but many times mark may not exactly reflect your knowledge. You should try to build the knowledge. So try to build the knowledge, read good books, okay, try to find out physiology books, anatomy physiology books on net, downloadable versions, okay. Yes, two best books I have given. There are many other good books, like there one is Gyanang Physiology is also good book. So there are many such good books are available. You go through these books and you try to read these books, and whatsoever study you have done earlier, most probably in all cases, in all teachers may not teach you in that details, because these anatomical terms or homeostasis was not known to you. We did it in detail. Maybe cell tissues, you read it and only you check the differences, and we shall go for only the difference between that, what you studied and what is there in this book. Only that can be covered, so that we can do it faster, and it makes or it gives you habit to learn the things. So take care, be studious, be happy about this, be enthusiastic about studies, and definitely it will help you a lot. All the best.